this is Daisy May back. So we're going to start a video today on another one of my picture messages. And before we get started, I just want to take a second to invite God in so that this will be words from Him, not from me. I just like to try to be in His will, not mine. And obviously that's not perfection, but I do the best I can. So we're just going to take a second and invite God in, and then we're going to say the serenity prayer. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things that I can't, and the wisdom to know the difference. Amen. So the picture message today is, in the eye of the storm, you remain in control. In the middle of the war, you guard my soul. You alone are the anchor when my sails are torn. Your love surrounds me in the eye of the storm. Yes, that is a song. It's a contemporary Christian song. And I love those words because it makes me think about how things can get really rough and really rocky in life. And you can feel like you're in the middle of a storm, and you are. You're in a life storm. And when we get like that, sometimes we don't know where to turn or what decision to make, or, you know, it's overwhelming. And I kind of think about, like, if you've ever read the Bible back in the day when the disciples were freaking out because there was a storm, and an actual storm, and they were on the boat. And, Jesus was on the boat with them, and he calmed the storms. And that was one of the things that he, did in the Bible. And the disciples were, of course, were just like, oh my goodness, I can't, they were just shocked at the things that Jesus could do. And that's the same exact thing of today's world. We might not be on the boat with Jesus, but we are His children, and we do walk through storms. And in those storms, we can lean on God, and God can walk through the storms with us. Like we talked about in the video prior to this one, He didn't remove Daniel from the lion's den. He sat with him in there. He didn't remove Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. He sat in the fiery furnace with them. When we're sitting in a storm, He's not going to come jerk you out of the storm, because there's lessons to be learned in those storms. Everything happens for a reason, for the greater good of God. So you might be sitting in the middle of a complete storm. Why am I here? What's going on? And remember, we've talked about all the way up in every video, we've talked about this. We're in a spiritual warfare all the time. When you're fighting with your family, when you're fighting with your friends, when you're fighting with co-workers, I don't care who you're fighting with, you're not fighting the person, you're fighting demons. No, I'm not saying everybody's demon possessed. I'm just saying in the world, we have the spiritual realm, we have spiritual beings, and they do affect us as living beings. And that is why we have to, for me, I have to stay suited up and close to God and plugged into God every day. I can't just, be good today and to think that the work I do today is going to carry over into tomorrow. It doesn't work that way. I have to wake up every morning saying, God, let me be in your will, not mine. God, let me be a shining light and a vessel for you, and be of help and service to at least one person in my life today. That is where I have to start my day off with. Because as long as I stay plugged into God, no matter what shows up, I can pause, like we've said in the videos, and pray. And no, we don't always, sometimes we're in these situations where we do a knee-jerk reaction. We reacted instead of responding. But it's all trial and error, and it's all a learning experience. We fight back or spat back off, and then we go back and we're like, why did I react like that? Or why did I respond that way? And some people, that's just them. They're like, yeah, well, if somebody says that to me, I'm going to say that to them. Or if, this person treats me that way. It's not tit for tat. It's not revenge. Like, that is no way to live. That is resentments. That's retaliation. That is all negative. Anything that is not of, anything that's not of the light will block you from the light. I'm sorry, something distracted me. I lost my train of thought. Anything that's not of God is of darkness, and is not of love. So as long as we are suited up and plugged into God, we would not want to act like that. We would not want to respond like that. And it takes sometimes years of practice and years of acknowledgement to realize those. That's why, like, I talk about the 12-step program that I'm a part of. When I do my 4th and 5th step, at that time, I can start seeing trends of things that I do in my life, and 95% of the time, guess what? The outcome is the same thing. Which is why they say, like me, the alcoholics are insane. Why are they insane? Because they keep doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. There you go. Insanity. So when we do that in life, it's insane. Like, why would you want to continue to act like that and get the same results? But some people don't care. They like negativity. Okay, I don't. I like to be plugged into God. I like to know when the storms come, I've got somebody backing me up. I got this. Like, I will get through it, whatever it is. And it might not be easy. And then when it's all over with, most of the time I can look back and I can see the lesson that I was to learn through that. When I read this message talking about being in the eye of the storm, I remain in control. In the middle of the war, you guard my soul. He's guarding us. He's protecting us. We have to lean on him. You alone are the anchor when my sails are torn. I'm falling apart. I'm getting ready to just lose it. I can't keep going like this. But he's the anchor. He is like a house that's about to be blown over. Where's your foundation? Just like the 3 little pigs. We don't want to live in a sand house. We want to live in a house that's solid and has a good foundation. And if we lean on God and we build up that foundation of a relationship with him, he is our anchor when the storm comes. And we are okay when that storm comes. And we can figure out a way to hold ourselves together. And it might be hard. And it's not just for us to be able to hold it together, right? You have people in your life that he placed there that can help you stay strong. Whether it be a friend, or like me, I have a sponsor, or a family member. I mean, he gives us the tools. We just have to use them, right? Sorry about that. I had to have a swallow drink. So, that's how I think and I feel. Like right now, I just recently went through a situation with a family member of mine, super close family member. I try to be discreet on how I say that because I know this is public. I don't want to put other people's business out there. And I've had a really hard time accepting some of the decisions that this person's making, because I'm like, you're making your life harder. It's just like, I just want you to see, and I can't do that. Me preaching, me yelling, me screaming, me showing out like that is not going to solve anything. So what do I have to do? I have to pause. I have to pray. I have to remember not to react, and I have to respond. Sometimes that response needs to be delayed after I pray. Right? I'm going to pray. I'm going to talk to God and ask him why. What do I need to do? How do I need to do this? Do I need to just hang tight because you've got this under control? It's not my job to change somebody. I can't do that. I can plant a seed in a nice, calm manner. Maybe use a personal experience. This is how I handled a situation when I was going through what you're going through, and this is what happened. And sometimes personal experiences that you share works out a whole lot better than you sitting there preaching. People don't want to hear nobody yelling at them. Nobody wants to hear them preaching to them. You've got to be careful how you address somebody. And I feel like that was kind of and I'm still in that storm. But I'm better myself. I'm better mentally, even though they're still going through all that. I pray every night for the whole situation. And ask God, I'm giving her to you, Lord. I just need you to handle it and just give me the strength to stay calm and show me what I can do to be of service to this person so that maybe I can help her see, even though I don't want to preach and yell and scream. And in return, because I'm praying about it and I'm meditating about it, if I'm really truly trying and willing to give this to God, I have peace. I'm like, okay. You know, things are really crazy right now, and sometimes I'll stop and think, I can't believe I handled that situation like that. You know, just like with my mom 5.5 years ago, I felt like I was in the middle of a storm when she passed away. When it first happened, but that's when I first got sober, and luckily I had those people, my sponsor, I had the fellowship group of AA. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said that. That's the first time I said that. The 12-step program. I had my people, and they're who got me through the loss of my mom, and it was hard, but I got through it. He put the people in my life at that time that I needed, and I did have an anchor in that storm. I was able to plant my feet. Believe it or not, I hadn't been sober long, but there was miracles that happened when I first walked into the doors of the 12-step program, and I am so grateful because it saved my life. I had gotten so far away from God, and that was when I started building my relationship back with God. I also had a situation about a year ago where I was having to live in a situation that was not the greatest. It was toxic. The people that lived there was toxic. The environment was not the best living arrangements, and let's just say I felt like I was busting wide open in a storm, and I thought I was going to lose my mind. And one particular night, this person got drunk and cussed me out and pretty much tell me where I could go, and you know, just every sentence you can think of just putting me down, you know. And normally I would fight back and yell and scream, and I would feel better about it because I didn't gave you what you gave me. If you want to say that to me, then you're going to hear what I got to say. That's no way to handle it. I literally stopped. I paused. I did not react. I walked away. I hit my knees and prayed, and then I responded. And I went right into the kitchen because my children needed to eat, and I fixed something to eat. And then I told that person that's not related to me, and I said, you have some dinner in the kitchen. And I went on about my merry way. And I look at that, and I know that sounds like petty, minute to you, but knowing my temper and knowing how I've always been growing up and responding, not reacting, not responding. And I was so shocked that I literally, because this person passed out after they cussed me out in the middle of the floor. So I could have easily knocked him upside the head if I wanted to, you know. There was no fighting. This person's passed out. But that's not how I have to live today. I have a relationship with God. I work a program. I want to be sober. I want to be of service to God. I ask God every day, let me be a shining light and a vessel for you, because I want to be of service to others. And life is so much more peaceful when you do that. It's amazing how when we give our life to God and we really try to be spiritual, like I said, I'm not religious. I don't want to hear about the rules. I don't want to hear, if you do this, you're going to hell. No, I don't live by law. I live by faith. You know, the first part of the Bible, the Old Testament, is by law. The New Testament's by faith. Even God, when Jesus was walking with his disciples, said, beware of, I guess it would be the rabbis, because people preach the rules that aren't the same under faith. And I won't get into all that because that's a whole lesson or whatever. But anyway, I'm not going to preach to anybody. So, you know, I was just really shocked that I handled that situation that way. It was another really good example that I wanted to give, and my mind just went somewhere else. I've been up since 4:30 this morning, so I am not completely functionable right now. It's been a long day. But anyway, so when I'm in the middle of the world in the storm and I ask God to come help me, it always goes a lot better. And I have learned so much with looking back, like I said, making those lists of how I react and you know, you're not making a list of how you react to things. It's just working. Like, you have resentments, you know, your wrongdoings, your character defects, that kind of stuff. But you're able to see a pattern of your behaviors. And if you don't know some of what's the problem, how do you know what to fix? So a lot of times, you know, I didn't realize some of the things that I was doing. Manipulation. There was just many things that I didn't realize I was handling the way I was until I sat down and really looked at my past. And I might not have to go through all those storms if I would just stop, pause, pray, respond, not react. I know I keep repeating that, but it is so huge that when I started doing that, how much my life changed. I mean, it's crazy. It really is. My life is so much more peaceful today. I might have a couple of weeks where I'm just off because I'm just like, you know, beside myself. I don't know how to handle certain things. And I'm just like anybody else. I want those answers right now. I want to know what God's answer is right now. I don't want to wait. I'm human. And we have to. We have to remember that this is in God's time, not ours. And our time and God's time do not coincide. But I will tell you from experience, the times that I do all that, my situation of outcome is totally different. And sometimes, I've said this before, I don't even have to react or respond. It works itself out. And, you know, times I've wondered, I don't know how I'm going to have this conversation with this person. I don't know how I'm going to do this. They just ironically call me. And then conversation happens, or I run into them somewhere and they start a conversation with me, whatever it may be. And it actually shocks me. I'm like, oh my God, how did this happen? But then I look back and it was like, that conversation went well. Things are better now. And I didn't plan it. I didn't say, I'm going to call this person, I'm going to say this, and I'm going to say that, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do that, because I know that's what needs to be done. I'm not God, and I don't know what needs to be done. I literally have to live 1 minute at a time, 1 moment at a time. We've talked about that. Live in the present. Stop stressing out about the past. It causes depression. Stop stressing about the future. It causes anxiety. We have to stay in the moment. We have to stay plugged into God, and we have to remember that as long as we're walking in His will, just like the serenity prayer, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change. I cannot change other people. The courage to change the things that I can. I can only change me. I can only change my reactions. And the wisdom to know the difference. And wisdom is not necessarily knowledge. You become old and wise from experience and leaning on God. He will give you the wisdom, the tools, and the tools, whether it be a person, people, whatever it may be, He will give you the tools to be able to get through your daily life without feeling like you're all alone in those storms, that you're going to just be struck by lightning. You're going to, come up on the shore half dead. You might feel that way. You might feel like you're drowning. But just remember, our lifeguard can walk on water. So you're not going to drown as long as you look up. Now, do I mean that you're never going to die? Yeah, we all die. We all die because when our mission's over, we're done. And just like I lost my mom, I felt like I was kind of in a storm then when I lost my mom. But her mission was over here. Acceptance. I accepted that I cannot control when people's missions are over and it's time to go home. But it does give me a peace of mind the way I live, because I don't think your life is over when you die. I think it's just beginning. We are a spiritual being having a human experience. So when I pass away, my human experience is over. My spiritual being is still alive, and it is in the presence of the Lord, and that is exactly what I believe. And the thing is, people will say, well, how do you know you're right? How do you know that there really is a God? Well, my life of the miracles that I could sit here and write a book about, The times I've seen God show up, that's all I need to see. I already know. I know 110,000,000,000% there is a God. I do. Now, everybody don't believe that way. But they're like, well, what if you're wrong? Okay, I don't feel that I'm wrong because of the evidence I've seen, but if I'm wrong, what's the worst thing that's going to happen when I die? I don't go nowhere. I turn back to dirt. But what's the worst thing that's going to happen if I don't believe? And I'm not talking about going to hell. I'm talking about living in hell on earth. And from what I've seen of evidence of my life, I can say that the times I'm not following God, what my life looks like, and the times that I am following God, what my life looks like, I want to go down the road of following God. Because my life is a lot more peaceful, there's a lot more serenity, and I have a lot more endurance during that storm. Because I know this will pass. What they say, this too shall pass. This will pass. God's got my back. Jesus walks on water, and it's all going to work out. For what? The greater of God's glory. It all works out for His glory. And that's what I believe. That's what I will always believe. I have my moments where I, fall back and I'm like, get discouraged. But that's just like, I love my daddy. Do I get mad at him? I get a little frustrated sometimes. Does he get frustrated with me? Yeah. If you have enough of an intimate relationship with God and you're talking to Him just like He's your heavenly daddy, you're going to get frustrated with Him because He's not answering your prayers when you want Him to, or He's not keeping somebody alive that you want to keep alive. He will answer our prayers, but just because that person passes away or just because something doesn't turn out the way you want it to, we don't know what the future holds, first of all. And as far as somebody passing away, nobody can live forever. Your soul can, but the human body cannot. And now, whether you be a baby that passes away or you're 110, whatever the case may be, I feel like either your life ended because your mission was over, or your life ended because of demonic spirits. We have to remember that the devil does have power, and right now he has control over the earth. God let him have free roam of the earth until Jesus busts that sky wide open and takes us home. So right now we have to remember that the devil has a lot of leeway in this world. At the end of the day, yes, God is in control, but He does allow certain things to happen. Why? I don't have all the answers. I don't know. I have to go based on what I do know. I have to know that God has my back. Everybody can't live forever, and as long as I stay in His will by the best of my ability, it all works out. And I just have to accept that. As far as I know, I feel like people passing away, well, my mom passed away, God didn't answer my prayer. My baby passed away, God didn't answer my prayer. It's not that He didn't answer. It's not that He don't care about you. That's not it at all. It's all about His plan. And unfortunately, some of it is sad and hard to understand. And unfortunately, we're probably going to have to wait until we meet Him and actually get to go to heaven and find out why things happened the way they did. We're never going to have all the answers at all. So that's kind of my take on, just staying plugged into God. Remember when you're in the middle of those storms, where to lean. Remember not to react and to respond. Remember to stop, pause, and pray. And those things, those tools get me a long ways. Ask for help. Don't isolate. Keep certain people close to you. If you don't feel like talking, that's okay. If they're close enough, you just say, hey, I don't feel like talking. Can you just sit with me? Or can you just listen? I don't even want really a response. Can you just listen? All right, so we're going to wrap this video up for today, and we'll go from there tomorrow and see what awesome message can come tomorrow. We can talk more about God. That is my fire. That is my light, and that's something I never want to be blocked from, is the light of God. I hope everyone has a good rest of their day, and I hope to see y'all soon. Please subscribe and like if you will. And like I said, if anybody's interested in life coaching, if you will, just send me an email at daisymaylove1@gmail.com and just pop me a message. Or if you have questions or if you have some feedback, that would be great. I love to hear other people's perspective on certain or on subjects, because I'm always trying to learn. I don't know everything, never will. And so I like to hear what other people have to say from their point of view. And I'm open-minded to try to look at things differently. So please pop me a message if any of that pertains, and I will definitely see y'all next time. Thank you so much for your time.